The second 5-star coming to Genshin Impact for version 5.3 is Citlali. She is an elemental mastery cryo-focused shielder buffer support for pyro and hydro characters. That is a wacky, unexpected kit, and the developers had their work cut out for her, releasing a support right after Shenhe and alongside the pyro archon. That's just a recipe of asking to get skipped. Fortunately for Citlali and Citlali wanters, Hoyoverse was able to make a character that's able to fill some very powerful niches to be quite a good pull and worth considering for a lot of players. So in this video, we're going to talk about what you need to do to pre-farm for her, a complete build guide so you can be prepared, and all the characters and teams that I think will be the most promising. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. It is your very last chance to enter our Tactor giveaway. Tactor is an amazing website where I'm posting awesome Genshin articles that you can read and send to your new player friends. We're giving away both a Citlali and a Moika. I'm going to be announcing the winners on Boxing Day and doing the streams on January 1st. All you have to do is follow the instructions in the pinned comment. It is 100% free to enter, and you can win yourself either a Citlali or a Moika. Good luck. To give you a quick breakdown of her kit, she summons a shield with her skill, and she has off-field cryo application based on her Night Soul consumption. She will need to use her burst to get enough Night Soul to actually consume so that you can actually get off-field cryo application, and cryo application will be important for this character as a lot of the teams she enables are melt teams. Her main function will be buffing your team. She wields the Scroll of Cinder City artifact set, which as we all know is very, very broken, and she also reduces the resistance of your pyro and hydro damage on the team, and she does both at the same time when either one of those reactions happens. She also has the same exploration as Auroron and will allow you to fly around the overworld on her little pillow. Overall, she has a really, really interesting and very, very strong kit. I think the only downside is how weak her shield seems to be. She is not a viable replacement for a very strong shielder such as Zhongli. Her shield is basically just a little bit of extra resistance to interruption. I would have liked it to be a refreshing shield like Baiju, but I guess Genshin figured that her buffing was way too overtuned, and so they needed to do something to balance out her kit, and that was making the shield weaker. I think it's quite surprising that they chose us to give another defensive buffer support in Natlan right after Shenhe was so broken, and a lot of people probably got her, but Citlali is strong enough that it seems like she could very much be worth the pull regardless. So let's talk about her build guide, then her pre-farming, then we'll go into her team. Citlali is a catalyst character, and nothing in her kit particularly wants you to level 90 her, except for maybe just for her own personal reaction damage. So you're definitely going to want to focus on leveling up other characters before level 90ing her. Because she is a support character and her resistance shred actually comes from her passive, you don't need to focus really any investment in her talent levels or in her personal levels. You get the vast majority of her kit just from leveling her to her Ascension 4 passive. Now that doesn't mean it's worthless to ascend her that final level, but at least initially, I personally plan on leaving her at level 80 out of 90 and taking her skill to 9, taking her burst probably to 9, but both of these things you could skimp out on. The only reason to level up her skill is for her shield strength, and then her burst for her personal damage. But for most players, her personal damage won't be that crazy. Maybe if you have her signature and you really have some good substats, like, it's worth doing eventually. But if you're just trying to get this character up and running, and if you have other characters to build, Citlali is a character that you can kind of cheap out on, and you can just leave them maybe 8-8 and leave her at 80 out of 90, or even 8-7. Or even 8-1, right? And you never level up her normal attacks. You just focus on her skill for defensive utility, and then just make sure you get those passive unlocked for the resistance shred for Hydro and Pyro. Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City is the main artifact set. You'll want to focus either on Elemental Mastery or Energy Recharge Sands. If you can get enough energy recharge from your substats on your pieces, that would be ideal, but it's very important to get her burst up, so don't be afraid to use an Energy Recharge Sands if you have to. And then Goblet and Circlet should always be Elemental Mastery. I'm personally going to try and get enough ER from the Hero of Cinder City because it does regenerate some energy for you, and because you're only focused on EM main stats, you can look for energy recharge is the only substat you care about for the Sands, the Goblet, and the Circlet. So eventually you should be able to run triple EM with enough energy recharge in your substats, but that might be difficult. So again, don't be afraid to just use an energy recharge Sands if it's not cutting it for you. You can do cryo damage bonus and crit Circlet, but it's just not worth it compared to EM, as most of her damage skill is from EM anyway. If someone else is running the Hero of the Cinder City set, then Citlali has other really good options. She works great with Tenacity of the Millilith to boost attack, and it'll give her extra shield strength, so that's really nice. And for non-attack teams, or teams that you'd rather, or if you just rather not focus on the shield strength, Instructors gives a crazy amount of elemental mastery, and it does boost her shield a little bit, but you're of course using 4-star artifact sets, so it's not going to be like a very strong shield, but it is going to be a huge damage boost. So if you don't care about the shield on those teams, like this would be great for Mulanni teams where Shalon's already using scroll, this is going to be a really, really strong option. For weapons, her signature is obviously going to be the best. I'm just going to use this as her signature, but Thrilling Tales is going to be very, very close when you have attack scaling characters. 1,000 Floating Dreams is going to be very good. Bavonia's Codex is going to be very good if your team can use the energy. I don't have any Wandering Even Star, but if you do, that's going to be a very, very good weapon as well. And basically, these are the only ones you ever need to consider, because you'll have Thrilling Tales for free. You'll have Favonius probably from the gacha at some point. But if for some reason you don't, you can use Mappa Mare for the Elemental Mastery for shield strength and damage, or the Sacrificial Fragments. But these are basically the only weapons you'll want to consider. If you plan on getting Citlali's weapon, the Delirious Divinity of the Sacred Lord is the material you want to focus on pre-farming. Her weapons boss traps are the Saurian Crowned Warrior's Golden Whistle, as well as the Sigil of Striding Will. I think it only makes sense for her to use the Philosophies of Kindling, the same mats that Auroron uses. Of course, Cryo Gem. None of the boss materials are really jumping out at me, so you might have to wait until the actual release to farm boss level up materials. But at least, unlike Moika, the weekly boss materials are going to be the Denial and Judgment. Sounds very Citlali-esque. And for herself, yet another user of the Tyrant's Fang. Again, this is for her personal level up. The other ones were for her weapon. And finally, the Quinepa Berry are the ones you'll need as her local specialty. For her teams, I think that Pyro units are by far the most promising, because of course they are. Pyro needed a buff, of course. And I think the Hydro units are the second most promising, because of course they are. The two best elements in the game needed another buff. What are you doing, Hoyovers? Anyways, calming down, Chaska, this will be exactly what Chaska needed. You can now run a Rainbow Element team and have all three characters properly synergized. The Chaska team I'm most excited for is actually Citlali Shenhe Bennett. I think it'll be an upgrade over the other Shenhe Chaska teams. It should be Shenhe's best team, but obviously the Farina variant is going to be better overall. But since you're going to be melting every hit off of Chaska, you know, maybe that'll be Chaska's best C1 team. I don't know. I don't have Chaska C1, so I'll never know. But I think that regardless, Citlali is going to be a huge upgrade for Chaska. If you're a Chaska haver, definitely prioritize getting Citlali over Moika. Moika will be a fine option for Chaska, but Citlali will be her best in slot and will be awesome. Moika herself obviously works extremely, extremely well with Chaska, or sorry, with Citlali being able to melt and get a ton of damage bonus. It's hard to say if double cryo will be better or if Shalon and Citlali will be better. Probably depends on practical stuff and a bunch of factors. I'll be testing them and seeing. Make sure to subscribe, of course, because I'll be testing these teams and doing my, you know, I tested 30 plus teams with Citlali or whatever. Arlecchino double cryo for melt. I'll also test single cryo, but I think we're pretty sure that she'll need double cryo to melt a decent amount of her hits. But it should be Arlecchino's best team, which of course she needed a new best team because she didn't just get a new best team with Shalon or something. She totally needed another new best team. What is Genshin doing? Gaming should be getting a huge buff, and he can kick Shenhe out of his team, and you can play a melt team that's not janky as hell, which is going to be awesome. Should be a huge increase to Gaming. He probably climbs the ladder up to the top tier DPSs now, like maybe not quite Arlecchino level, but probably really, really high up there. So that's really, really cool. I'm really, really excited to try Bennett Plunge. So you do Bennett, Citlali, Cryo, and Shenhe, and so you're melting all of your hits. Obviously, you're losing the Farina factor. I'll try it with Farina too. Maybe you can vape, maybe there's vape melt. Maybe either vape melt's better or maybe just hard melt is better. I don't know, but I think that could be pretty cool because other characters, you know, don't self-infuse pyro. So like Diluc is not a prime candidate for that kind of thing, but Bennett getting the Shenhe buff and his self-attack buff and then those consistent melts, and not having to double swirl because Citlali can just reduce those resistances, and Citlali will reduce the resistances of Farina. So if Farina gets some vapes in there, you're not losing out. So either way, somehow or another, that's going to be pretty good. And you don't need to run Shen Yun on not Thrilling Tales, on Viridescent Venerer anymore, because Citlali's doing resistance shred, and having double resistance shred isn't as good. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for Plunge Bennett. I haven't seen anyone talk about that, so that's pretty exciting to me. Obviously, yoimiya is yoimiya, so I don't expect the teams to be like crazy high damage, but it should be her best shielded team, so I'm excited for Melt Vape or just Melt yoimiya. Same with Linny. I'll try Linny stuff. I'll try Carry Dea probably if I have time. I'm really expecting Mulanni to be very, very good with Citlali. I'm thinking Mulanni, Xilonen, Citlali, and Moika. Obviously, it's a super expensive team and requires you to get 2 5-stars that are coming out this patch. So that's a bit crazy. Obviously, you can still use Xiangling, but I'm definitely going to try that. I think it should be Mulanni's best team, but we will have to wait and see. Basically, to make sure that all the elements and reactions line up properly. Citlali giving the instructor's buff should be absolutely huge. I think Hu Tao is going to see a really nice increase. Obviously, her Farina, Yelan, Xilonen stuff could still be better, but you've got Xingqiu, Yelan, Citlali, which should provide the extra shield strength for Citlali, because even though her shield isn't that strong, if Xingqiu is helping with the damage reduction, that should be really good. And Citlali is boosting the resistances for both the double Hydro Core and Hu Tao herself, so that should be really, really good and one of Hu Tao's better options. You might get some melt here and there as well, but even if you don't, it's still going to be really, really good. So I'm pretty excited for Hu Tao. I think that should be a really nice option for Hu Tao players who like to play more comfortably, and that should definitely be a lot more comfortable than Yelan, Farina, and Xilonen, because you have, 2 sources of interruption resistance and a pretty strong shield with the combination. So yeah, I think that'll be a really, really nice upgrade for Hu Tao in the quality of life, in the damage department of your quality of life teams. I think it's a good option for Novelet, but I don't think that anyone should pull Citlali for Novelet, because you should just get Novelet C1 and then you can just keep using Xilonen. But if you're getting Citlali for another reason, or getting her anyways, then that's a nice option for your C0 Novelet. For C1 and above, it's much less good, although it does have freeze, which is a nice quality of life. So I think it'll be a good option for Novelet. In a similar vein, Ayato teams should be pretty good with Citlali, but I expect Moika to be a bigger upgrade for Ayato. I'm gonna move Child up, because I haven't seen anyone talk about this, but using Child with Citlali instead of Kazuha, it should be easier to play, and maybe Child's best single target team. I don't know. We'll have to see, because again, Citlali will be reducing the resistance for both Xiangling and for Child. I don't know. It sounds pretty cool. I would like to try it. In general, lots of Yelan teams will improve or be a good option. I'm thinking just like some kind of Yelan core, I think, will be pretty good, since there's an easy synergy there. I've seen some like melt stuff with Citlali, Moika, Wriothesley, as like Citlali and Wriothesley applying on-field cryo, and then Moika melting her off-field and then melting her burst. That sounds kind of interesting. Diluc melt. Ayaka using her, even though she doesn't buff cryo, you might still be able to use her with Ayaka somehow. I'm not exactly very sold on that. I do want to use Shenhe on some teams. Maybe Shenhe boosting Citlali's damage makes it interesting. I don't know. I'm not really very sold on these cryo concepts, but they're there. And then she doesn't work with like a lot of other teams. It's because it's basically really, Pyro and Hydro characters that are actually going to work, and then the rest is just kind of cope. So maybe we'll put Diluc here. I don't know. His multipliers are so low to me. Overall, although I think Hoyo is really doing a weird thing by buffing Pyro and Hydro characters instead of the Cryo characters that we actually need a buff, that's very frustrating. Other than that, I'm really, really excited for Citlali. I think she's going to introduce a lot of new team archetypes and just make Melt really, really viable overall, and do some cool stuff for some Hydro characters. So overall, I'm really excited for her. If you are too, make sure to enter the giveaway down below, and please subscribe. We're zeroing in on 80,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you all. And if you don't want to do any of those things that I asked, that is totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough, and the best Christmas present. Thanks so much. Bye for now.